thanks for joining me again. Now, I've had a comment about tools. You know, everybody loves a tool, don't they? I want to start building a toolkit. Where do I start? What do I buy? Can you recommend some stuff? So I'm going to start off by saying the first thing you can do, don't just go blowing yourself away with some snap-on tools and everything like that. It takes time, it's bloody expensive, and you don't need it. If you're just doing a DIY stuff, or even if you're a mechanic starting out and you need to make a bit of an investment into some tools, don't go stitching yourself up with a massive debt with all this nice new shiny tools. You don't need to. Take your time, build it slowly. Start off with some cheap tools. And when I say cheap, you haven't got to go blowing the budget on snap-on, because you don't use it all. You don't use all of the kit all of the time. You find stuff like, if I go down here, let's have a look. My first toolkit I bought was a plastic tub with all the sockets in it. You know, the sort of thing, you see it on Amazon and all the rest of it. A multi-set, sockets, Kamasa, Ratchet. It was a Kamasa set, and this is still the original half-inch ratchet I bought, God, nearly 30 years ago. Here I am at 16 at the National Junior Mechanics Competition, stripping a Astra gearbox down. I've still got it, it still works, it's still good. It doesn't get used that much. Half-inch ratchet, when do you really use a half-inch ratchet? You use the air gun, you use your electric nut gun. If it's a big old nut, then you start getting the big bar out. So this one, I bought it, I've still got it. It works a treat. So did I need to buy a snap-on half-inch ratchet? No, it's not used enough. But the Kamasa set was a great set, because in there you get a whole array of sockets. Now, even if I delve into my drawer of sockets here, I can still see a majority of some of this stuff down the back here is all Kamasa sockets still. So obviously I took them out of the plastic tub to get them into this toolkit. But if I look at this rail here, it's all obscure stuff. It was a really big set, and you got loads of stuff in there that, like I say, that you're never going to use. I mean, this is like 15 16s. You got 11 16s. You know, it's all oddball sizes that very rarely get used. Still got them all. I didn't need to buy a really expensive set, because if I probably never used some of these sizes, never ever. So that would be my first tip. Buy a cheaper set with plenty of sockets and spanners in it. This is one that caught my eye on Amazon, £89. I mean, it's got a mass array of stuff in there, really good value. And then the key is, when you break one, or the ones that you use the most, you're using 10mm, 12mm, 13mm, 14, 16, 17, 19 millimeter sockets and spanners. They're the ones that get used the most. So start replacing them with something decent. You don't have to go, again, you don't have to go snap-on, but I love snap-on kit. There's just something about it. It makes me, just gives me that, I love getting my hands on it. You know, they just make beautiful, beautiful tools. They're just so nice. I mean, I've got a little ratchet, a little stubber, but it's gorgeous, you know, love it. So one of the most popular ratchets or bits of kit you're going to use, the size-wise, is the 3/8. Now, this is your 3/8 stuff, and it's the size of the head. So when you go quarter drive, half-inch, 3/8, it's all referring to the size of the anvil on the sockets and the wrenches. This is your quarter drive, which is a tiny little head on it there. So what I was saying about the kit, basics in your toolkit, things you've got to get in there. You need a good 3/8 selection of stuff, a good quarter drive selection of stuff, and a few, like I say, your half-inch stuff. It's mainly for your big bolts, your wheel nuts. There's not a lot else you're going to use that, you know, run-of-the-mill kind of jobs. When I say to you about buying cheap and just changing it when it breaks, this is a prime example. This is a Sykes-Picot quarter drive set. Now, I've had this for a long, long while. You know, it's a good old time. And if you look inside here, everything is as standard except for the ratchet. I bust the ratchet, I broke the quarter drive ratchet, so I replaced it with a snap-on one. And you look at this little fella. This is just beautiful. Oh, it's just so nice, and it's got the swivel head on it as well, which really gets you into some little tough, tricky little spots. Lovely bit of kit, really nice, bit pricey, but because I used the set an awful lot, it was worth replacing that with a decent ratchet. The sockets and stuff, you're very rarely going to break one of these, not when you're using the quarter drive with a quarter drive ratchet. Strength wise, the sockets are far stronger than the little gearing inside that ratchet. So again, unless you lose them, Sykes-Picot is not the cheapest. It's a reasonable make. It's a mid-quality kind of stuff. So and that's a nice set. You know, it's all, like I've said about the sockets, these have all been stamped in, the numbers and stuff on all the sockets. You can see that there. They're really nice. So that's been a good set. This is one to show you. Like I said about ratchets, I bought cheap. I've had a few cheap ratchets because I do, you know, you can leave them about. This is a Taskmaster one. Quite a nice ratchet. It's not bad. Got a nice set of teeth in there. Nice gearing and that. It's got a quick release button on the top. That was the snap-on one. You can hear this one's got a much sharper click to it, and that's got a flick on the top there, same as that one. But quality-wise, you can see not a lot in it really. This one is completely different. This is a right unusual ratchet, and it's called a clutch ratchet. There's no there's no click to it, and it uses ball bearings inside that will only go one way, and it will lock in. So if you want to go backwards, you push it through the other side. So to wind up, you put it that way. To undo, you put it that way. Again, it's done me well. I've had this for about 30 years. It's one of the first ratchets I bought. When I saw it in the tool truck, I was amazed by it. I thought, how's that work? That's unbelievable. Downside to it is if you really reef on it you've got to put a bar on the end of it as well. If you're just pulling at it with your hand, it's fine. You'll never put enough power on it. But if you put a bar on the end of that, you can make it slips. You can get it to slip. But I've had it for years. It's still as good as gold. And that's brittle, which is the same as what my spanners were. And it's been a decent ratchet. So like I say, do you need to spend massive amounts of money on the snap-on stuff? There are some nice tools out there. Keep your eye out for, you know, something catches your eye and you think, I like the look of that. Why not? Why not? Which then brings us into screwdrivers. Now you need a reasonable set of screwdrivers. You can buy all individual ones, different lengths, different sizes. You need a reasonable selection. Again, go cheap. Get yourself a decent set. So you've got one for every occasion. A really good tip though is the screwdrivers with the removable tips, because if you get a reasonable one of those and you buy a bit box with all of the bits in it, you've got 30 screwdrivers there in one. So you can save yourself a lot of money and a lot of time, and some of the stuff in there is obscure. You might only use it once. It's a decent, and I think these come in at about 20 quid for all of those, and that's Milwaukee. That's a really good set. That strong bits. You struggle to break them. They really are good and strong. I've had this screwdriver ages. Stanley screwdriver. It wasn't expensive, but it's never let me down. It's not broken. And then you've got the snap-on. This one here, it's me Mini Bertha. You know, it's very rare I undo a screw with this. This is always for prying and levering and smacking and bashing. And it's a decent old thing. It's it's tough as old boots. That is. It's good screwdriver. Get yourself a nice selection of screwdrivers. I'll put some links in. I'm going to put a whole load of links in the description at the bottom to bits of kit that I think is reasonable for a start off, decent sets that have got plenty of selection in them. And I'll put all these links in the bottom so you can have a look. And if you're interested, bang straight into Amazon and fill your boots. Yeah, what I did eventually was you start expanding the kit out. You know, once you've broken something, or if it's a piece of kit that you're using a lot, then you can start replacing it. Deep sockets, always using deep sockets. So I bought a set of snap-on deep sockets. But like I say, you don't have to. You don't have to. Buy the cheaper set. When they break, when they wear, replace them. Now there are some times when It's not that often. It's not that often. But if you've got a cheap spanner, let me have a look. Let me have a look. Here we go. Let's have a look in here. Here we go. A Kamasa spanner. Look. Now, it's rough and ready. It's rough and ready. And what you find is the angles and the machining isn't that good. So if you've got something that's really tight, you know, blooming tight, and this is not going to shift it, you find when you get a decent spanner, the machining and the finishing off on the angles and everything is so much more precise. And it's true that a snap-on spanner will crack off a tighter nut than one of these. This will sometimes slip if it's really tight and it's rusted, or if it's slightly corroded, the nut's slightly corroded, the size has changed slightly. A cheaper spanner will sometimes ping off and the snap-on one will get it off. It doesn't happen very often, but if you've got something that's really tight, I've had it, I couldn't get it off with a cheap spanner, I put a snap-on one on it and boom, you get it off. How bizarre. But, like I say, build it up slowly. Build your kit up slowly. Buy cheap, when it breaks, replace it with something good. Oh, is there an exception to that? Some of the electric kit, you know, the nut guns and stuff like that, if you go and buy something absolutely crap and cheap, you're going to struggle with it. It ain't going to work. So you have got to sometimes punt on something that's half decent when you're buying into the electric stuff. Here we go. What have we got in here? Look, brittle spanners. They're not a cheap make, but they're not an expensive make. Middle of the road. Nicely finished off. Nice chrome vanadium. And this set, I can honestly say, again, I've had these. This was the first set of decent spanners I bought. And I bought these 25 plus years ago. And they're still as good as new. They're beautiful. Really nice set of spanners. And like I say, they were half the price of what snap-on ones were. But they were a good set. And what do you look for? What is a good spanner? For me, it's a nice chrome finish. Good quality chrome. The writing on it is not laser etched. It's actually engraved or stamped into the spanner. The laser etched stuff, it just wears off and you can't see what size they are. But this, it's actually... Can you see that? How it's actually like the brittle is stamped into it, and the 18, it's actually punched into the metal there. So it's never going to come off. It's never going to fail. So that would be a start for a good spanner. What else we got? See, I've got a massive array of pliers in here. I've got a right mix. We've got all sorts. We've got snap-on pliers, which are good, but I've also got cheap Amtech or something like that. But for what you use them for, they work really well. It's once in a blue moon. You need a small set of pliers. I'm not reefing off them. I'm not putting loads of pressure on them. I know if I do, they'll break. But for certain things where you're just pulling little things, little wires, little whatever, little pliers are good. Doesn't have to be. You don't have to spend an absolute fortune on them. Sykes-Picot. Good quality kit most of the time. They do make some crap, but a run-of-the-mill make, but they're doing half-decent kit. You can't really go wrong with Sykes-Picot stuff. It's not bad. It's reasonably made, and it is kind of semi-professional stuff. It's not bad at all. What else we got in here? Oh, what's this one? Oh, these were Mac. These are Mac. So Mac tools, Stanley, I think they are owned by. Again, not a bad make. Make some nice stuff. Good quality kit. I mean, that's a beautiful pair of crimpers. Got like a double action cam on them. Oh, lovely, really nice. What else we got? Really cheap. We've got yeah, here we go. Snap-on, Blue Point Snap-on. They do. It's like they bomb off the Snap-on van, but they're a cheaper version. And they do stuff. Now these crimpers here, these are Blue Point crimpers, not cheap. You know, you're paying over the odds for them. You gotta be careful. Some of their stuff isn't the best. It's these crimpers. They've got a square end on them. See that lot? It's like a square end. And when you want to crunch it in, these are just a Stanley pair, and these have got they're more shaped. There's more of a rounded shape to them. They will crimp up crimp far better than the Blue Point ones. So, you know, you've got to look into it. There's no fixed rule of buy this tool, it's amazing. Some parts of it are good, other parts aren't so good. It really does vary on what you're buying. It's always worth looking into it. Taskmaster, cheapy brand, but it's half decent stuff. It's not too bad. You know, they make some reasonable kit. I mean, I had these pliers ages, absolutely ages. Chopped some real thick stuff up with them, and still as good as gold. No problem at all. Taskmaster, not a bad bit of kit. What else we got in here? What's this one? Here we go, Silverline. Now we're talking cheap, but again, it's half decent. It's not bad. It's not real crappy tat. I've got one bit of Silverline kit. I tell you what. I mean, these are a pair of cutters again. They're not bad, but this here. That there is a Silverline oil-filled glass cutter, and I'm not joking. That is amazing. It is amazing. When I was a kid, I went through a phase of making terrariums. We did it as a project at school, and you had to, obviously, a terrarium's like a glass plant holder thing, all weird and wonderful shapes, and you put copper tape around and soldered them all up. So I was cutting loads and loads and loads of glass, and I was using just a standard cutter. Got quite handy with it, but I saw somebody using one of these, the oil-filled cutter, and they were bloody expensive back then, really expensive. So I couldn't afford it. I was only at school. So anyway, Silverline made one of these, and I bought this a few years ago, about 3 years ago. And I tell you what a bit of kit that is. I cut through some mirror. Mirror is a git to cut, it really is. And this is thin mirror, 3mm mirror. And I did a sheet, bang, straight through, no problem at all. What a bit of kit that is. What a bit of kit. Right, and what else we got? What can we show you now? What we got here? Yeah, the bar. We've got the breaker bar, snap-on. Like I say, some things you have to spend, you have to buy. Buy a cheap one of these. If you bust it, buy a snap-on one, because these are... this has had a scaffold pole on the end of it, swinging off it like a great monkey, and it's still intact. I've never broken an end on it. It is just unbelievably strong. Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. Still going, and again, I've had that for years and years and years. What a bit of kit that is. Just the feel. Oh, it's beautiful. Oh, yeah. Yeah, what else we got? The complement to that, which is something I bought years ago. I absolutely adore these. And that's the ratchet head for the snap-on. It's a snap-on ratchet head for the bar, for the breaker bar. And I bought one of those. I bought one for the 1/2 inch, and I also bought one for my 3/8. I've got a 3/8 one in here as well. So I've got a little snap-on 3/8 bar, and I've got the little baby. Look at that little baby one. Look, I mean, that is just succulent. That is gorgeous. Yeah, that just goes on the end of your ratchet there, on the end of your bar, and turns it into a swivel ratchet. It's just an amazing bit of kit. Oh, I love it. What else we got? There you go. I mean, there's a difference. Look, Taskmaster, snap-on. Both chromed up, nice. I mean, like you say, it's not a bad tool, the old Taskmaster one. You know, it's quite nice. It's stamped in. Chrome's good on it still. I've had it for years again. But, you know, the snap-on one, it's just finished off. Just the finishing on it, the way it's just finished off nice. It's much nicer. Extensions. You don't really need to buy expensive extensions. I've never broke one of these. Never bust one. You know, they're as good as gold, so you could get some cheap ones, because you're going to need a few. Sometimes if you're going down the top of gearboxes and a lot of distance, you probably want 3 foot of extensions. So yeah, buy them cheap. If they do break, you know. And there's always that. I mean, I only felt this last week. Losing kit. There is no worse feeling than losing kit. Oh my goodness me. I've got a beautiful little Facom ratchet. It's a 1/4 drive Facom ratchet, and I thought I'd lost it last week. As it happened, it turned up in another drawer. I put it in the back in my wrong drawer. But the feeling, it's like losing a child. Terrible, terrible. And of course, you've got to have an hammer. Wow, you've got to have some big hammers. Really, 3 hammers. A big one, a little one, and a copper hide hammer. That's basically what you need with your hammers. Yeah, so that's a rough kind of insight. My thoughts and feelings on tools. Buy cheap if you can't afford anything better. If you can get medium quality kit, obviously that's probably, it's not a bad way to go. You know, spend medium quality and then when it breaks, replace it. But you need to get some volume in your toolbox. That's probably the key to the thing. Is you need to get a wide range of tools. So if you've got to buy cheap, buy cheap. If you've not got the tool, you're never going to do the job. If you've got a cheap tool, you've got half a chance. So yeah, I hope that's been of use to you. Drop me a little comment. Tell me your thoughts on this, because I'm really interested. I love tools. I'm a passionate tool man. And if you ain't got us, what's that saying? A workman's nothing without his tools. That is so true. Absolutely true. Once again, I hope it's been of use to you. I know I've waffled on a bit about all this stuff, but you know, if you haven't ever bought anything, it just gives you a slight insight into the way I think about buying kit. Drop me a little thumbs up, loads of comments, drop me some comments in there, like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.